What's that other TJ Morris there?
That's me. Hello, folks. We're live, and we're on the air now with this. This is the TJ Morris. No, excuse me. Well, sort of. We're on all the show. We're on all my channels broadcasting. This tonight is special for Brett, Lueder, and Eric. They're both friends, and they're going to the alien event, and so am I. So we're going to talk tonight about that. And TJ Morris, like TJ, say it, Brett. This show is.
This is episode 20 of the TJ3B Triangle.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Brett. Yes,
Our special guest is Eric the Healer. And Eric is the MC, the perennial MC at the 5D events hosted by Eric and the main host, Saeed David Farman. There's an event coming up in October 17th to 21st, I believe it is, in Las Vegas. We're going to provide that information, show the poster up at some point. Eric's going to tell us a lot about the guests that are going to be there. And we're going to dive into some of Eric's specialties, like some of his UFO experiences, as well as alternative healings, including the med beds. Definitely want to ask Eric about the med beds. So everybody, welcome to the show. This is my co-host, the beautiful and wonderful TJ Morris. Say hi, TJ. There we go.
Hi, TJ.
And we're all three going to be at the event. Is that right, TJ?
That's right. I'm so excited that I can't talk. Fancy that. I'm real excited, folks, because I love Brett. He's like a child to me. He's one of my Daring Ascension Center organization children. But he had a father that's passed on up there, and he can tell you all about that when we get to that part with that part of Mount Shasta. I'm sure Eric knows much more about all of that than I do. But we're excited because Eric has been with this alien event, and he started back in the beginning. And I was there too, but I was in Florida or somewhere. And Eric has been with the Alchemy event. We want to talk a little bit about the great founder that has been able to keep it going all the way through COVID. And now he has kudos in a little more, I guess you'd say, respect in the UFO industry, because even though we had so much try to tear us apart in politics in 2016 on Facebook, and our clans split, and that's okay because we're in America. But, we're not going to talk politics, but we will talk about how our UFO event and alien event came together. And so Eric has all the knowledge because he's been there at every one, right at the side. You're like a wingman, Eric, for Saeed, Dave, and Farman. He's a Persian American, great spirit, but he's very much an entrepreneur and businessman. So Eric, why don't you tell us, before we get started on your story, a little bit how you met Saeed. Then I'd like you to talk, or let Brett talk for a minute about how you two met. So will you start with how you got started with Saeed and how you met Brett? Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you for having me on your show. It's really wonderful to have you here and talk about our upcoming fun in Vegas, 17th through the 20th at the Alexis Park. And we've been there before, and they've been remodeling, so it's really nice hotel, and it's away from the major strip. So it's across the street from the Hard Rock Cafe. And I met Saeed in the 80s. When I lived in Santa Monica, I talked my parents into moving down from Sacramento to Los Angeles so I could go attend UCLA. I studied producing and directing for film and television and art history and fine arts filmmaking. Really art history, a lot of art history too, at UCLA. And I graduated. I went there in 84, but I graduated in 1986, and I stayed there till about 92. But in those years that I was down there, I was going to all these UFO conferences and meeting everybody and a lot of pioneers in the movement before they were famous. And I would see Saeed at these conferences, and I would recognize he's Persian, and I would, kind of joke with him and then start speaking Farsi and flip him out, trick him. And so we became friends. I'd always see him at these conferences, and And then I forgot about him, because I moved back to Sacramento, and then I got a job with the government, and I got my first, work computer, and I thought to Google 11/11 because I was born 11/11 p.m. and I wanted to just see, I was just playing with the computer, and I Googled 11/11 and his website popped up. alienshift.com, Alien Shift. And I was really impressed and with this website, and he had a lot of information on there. And then I noticed he had some posters of shows. And so I started telling him, I started communicating with him, and what's funny is we didn't know that we were the friends that we kept meeting each other in the 80s. I thought he's this new, I didn't know his real name or his full name, and we communicated just electronically, texting and emailing. And so I told him to put on the posters sodium fluoride, chemtrails, aspartame, he says, but we're not talking about these things. I said, I don't care. Just put these on your poster to get these words out in the realm, and he said, wow, it worked. People came, even though he didn't talk about it. People asked about it. I said, don't worry, these topics will come into use, okay? And so we worked that way, and he kept trying. He saw that I was a real deal, with the email coming from the government, and an email and a phone number from the government, the state, and so he would try to get me to be a speaker, a whistleblower, and come and speak at the conferences. And I was saying, no, I'm not. My spirit guide said, lay low, lay low. And 2012 happened, and my spirit guide said, okay, it's safe for you. Now time is different, and you're safe now. It's time to go out and speak. So 2013, I said, okay, I'll come and speak. So I came to his Orange County event, and it was so funny. When I got down there, I got out of my truck, and I saw him, and we immediately knew each other, and we recognized each other, and we started to laugh because we realized that we're the same friends. We kept meeting at all these conferences. I met him. I kept tricking him many times, because he didn't know I was Persian, and then I would start speaking Farsi, and he'd remember, oh, I met you, And so again, it was just this time he recognized me finally, and at the first time, and we laughed. And he was really happy, and I started speaking. I was the whistleblower with Stephen Kelly. He was talking about the child trafficking and the children that are locked up beneath the Getty Museum, and I was talking about just the deep state and I forgot what it was, the government and what I was doing. I'm the whistleblower who gave Jesse Ventura the FEMA camp information about the coffin liners, and then I was the guy who talked about the fake pandemic and the bioweapon jab and how to cure that. And at this conference, we're also having Med Expo, where we have top research doctors come, and they'll bring their microscopes and show you what's in your blood and how to detox it. We tell people don't believe anything we're saying, just look at the patents and look at the blood, and that's what you have. It's pretty undeniable.
Are you saying
Pardon me?
Stick your finger? Do they stick your finger at the biomed to get your blood?
Well, the biomed, you can't. I hope Dr. Nicola brings her microscopes again and only charges like $49, $50, and it's a really wonderful thing. Well, yeah, they'll stick your finger and show you what's in your blood, and it's really amazing to look at, because that you have it right in front of you, and you can't deny, what's going on, because there's nanoparticulates everywhere, and we have really we have to detox. I'm always detoxing, so we have
this
to.
dark field blood work, Eric?
I'm not really sure. That's a very good question. All I know is that we look at it, and they look at it. I don't look at it. That we meaning we Med Expo. But not me personally. I'm not a phlebotomist or a doctor. I'm just
okay.
and that's another disclaimer that I'm Eric the Healer. I heal myself. I don't heal anybody. They heal themselves. I inspire others to heal themselves. I help them heal themselves. And because I don't practice medicine, I share cures. And so I have to give that disclaimer.
I'm
Pardon
sure
me?
you're used to saying, I'm sure you're used to saying, physician, heal thyself. And metaphysical.
Yes, exactly. So, I have to heal myself first so I can help others.
Okay,
Brett's
Eric.
on fire to speak. Go, Brett.
So, Eric, when did you first become Eric the Healer? How did that come about?
That's a great question too. I was in the ski club at Sac State, and I was there in the 80s, and then I came back to Sacramento in the 90s, and I went back in the ski club. And when I went back in the ski club, there were many Erics in the ski club. There was Eric the snowboarder who had long hair. There was Eric the DJ who had short hair. And there were a couple other Erics I forgot. Those are the popular ones. And then there was me, Eric the healer guy. The healer guy, they called me, because I was always helping. People were injured skiing, and I was always helping them heal. You know, they'd do stupid things and get drunk and then go skiing and get hurt. And so I was kickboxing many years in Los Angeles, and I learned from the masters downtown. Even though I didn't speak Mandarin or Cantonese, I learned how to heal with their liniments, and I had a bag full of Chinese oils and liniments, medicines, and so I would take that with me, and I'd always be sharing it with others, and they'd be surprised how fast it worked and healed, and and I knew how to just help them heal. So I was Eric the Healer. They called me, and then they dropped off the guy, Eric the Healer guy, then it's just Eric the Healer. And then it just became Healer. They called me Healer, so it kind of stuck, and I liked it. And it stuck. So later when we had
how'd you meet
Yes?
How'd you meet Bret? Bret Lueder. How did you meet
How'd I meet Bret? Yes. I was in a paranormal psychic group with my friend Lori McDonald, and I think I met Bret at that. I think he was in our group. Isn't that how we met, Bret?
I either met you there or I met you at the New Living Expo in like 2015 or 14, something like that. It's right in that time period.
Sure.
I know. Listen, I swear to God, Bret, I promise you, you met my son, and I want your help meeting that guy, because I can prove I was skiing in Colorado or Canada. I was skiing Canada that January when you were doing that conference in San Jose, and you met my son, who looks like me but is 20 years younger. The first time I met you was in our psychic group with Lori. But if you ever see that guy, please tell him Eric the Healer loves you and wants to reconnect.
So 2015, because you told me about Javier and John were there that day. So that's when you met.
Right.
Bret.
Right. Javier was there. John was there. And then you're
switching events now. You're talking about the 2015 Awareness Life Expo that was in Sacramento at the Crown Plaza Hotel.
Oh yes, we did that one. Well, we did that one together, but I knew you before that. I knew
I knew Lori before that. I met Lori in 2013.
Yeah,
so.
I met you from her meetings.
Okay.
And then we became better friends probably at that conference.
Well, how many friends do you share?
Pardon me?
You two share friends in a network, right? What
we
type
sure
of network
do.
What kind of network is it? An alchemical, an esoteric, metaphysical? Is it just for event managers or participants?
UFO. It's a UFO community, I would say.
Yeah, it's paranormal, psychic, UFO community, but it was also a little paranormal and psychic. And we had a nice group of people together. There were a lot of, there were some remote viewers and psychics, and there's a mixture of people that got together and very gifted, and they were the real deal. Mary Barr was there. She was awesome, and I met a lot of people there that were very interesting, and
yeah, a lot of interesting people came through that group. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Will any of your friends be at this alien event? Can you talk about any of the people on the poster, either one of you? Bret's going to be there too.
Go ahead, Eric.
Off the top of my head, I mean, you just interviewed Brooks Agnew. I love him. He's wonderful. He's given me the highest compliments, saying I'm the best wingman in the business. And I really love him. He's a genius and inventor. And I love watching his videos or pictures of him, fixing his place. He's really doing a great job building his own house. And he's the real deal. He has free energy devices and really, he's a really nice guy. I really like him, and love him. I really love him.
Yeah,
I see him all the time.
Right. So also Brad Olson's on the bill. Brad Olson's been getting around to a lot of the events in the last few years, and really trying to hammer home this whole Antarctica theme. And we'll hopefully have him on the show here in the near future. And I think Geraldine Orozco is on the list.
Yeah, I know Brad Olson from skiing with him last season, and and also just many conferences we do. He's a really good guy, and we're mutual friends. Brett and Brad and I, and they're both tall guys. And then Geraldine Orozco. Yeah, I know Geraldine from doing night vision watches. She was doing night watches. She's a really sweet lady. I met her. I forgot her friend. She was working with another lady, and they were doing night vision with the night vision goggles and UFO watches at night. And that's always fun. I could do that every night for the rest of my life. I love those night vision goggles. But lately, just the last 3 times I've been doing that, I haven't used the goggles. I see them fast with my eyes, and I don't need the goggles, but I really love the goggles. And I want a pair. I need to get a pair.
Tell me about you and Brett and Brad Olson. All 3 of y'all are great MCs, and I like using Brett as a co-host, because he's got such a wonderful voice, and his height, it just looks good, and it commands respect. And I hope we can see a lot more of Brett Lueder and Brad Olson together in some of these events around the world, because they both have such a wonderful presence and speaking voice. Don't you agree, Eric?
Thank you.
I agree, and I think Brooks is inviting us to go with him around, everywhere and do, he thinks the same, and so, I enjoy working with both, and I think it's bad to limit yourself to anything or close yourself in a box. I'm always freestyle and doing mixed martial arts and mixed. I speak many different languages, and I'm multicultural, multilingual, and I try to not have any. I don't like mixing up everything. Like I'm a heterosexual, but everything else I mix up. I love women.
I was going to ask you next, so I'm glad you clarified.
I'll stay with women, and I've never had any gay experiences. I'm just a nice guy, I was voted the gay guys liked me in high school, and both high schools I went to, they had me the king or queen or whatever, their queen. But I said no, I said thank you, but no thank you, But
wow.
I went to a British school growing up, so I'm kind of soft, but at the same time I'm a Persian Viking, and I'm a martial artist and street fighter, and even though I'm a soft, nice guy, I'm here to fight the devil, I'm a tough guy, so I'm not intimidated, and pardon me?
How tall
I'm only I used to be 5'10". Now I measure this. I'm 5'9". I'm shrinking.
It's like Yoda. Yoda used to be 6 foot tall too until he lived to be 800 years old. Now he's only like 2 feet tall.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. When I grew up in Iran, my grandfather told me not to tell my dad, but he was going to take me to meet these hundreds of years old people that were cities. And in Iran, you hear things like that. There are people who are hundreds of years old, and we don't get that much in this country. We don't hear about it much, but now we are. There's, the giants lived many years, and these things are real, and so we're really timeless. really we're supposed to live, hundreds of years old, but one of our organs gives out, and we have all this pollution, and they really trick us with spelling and casting spells on ourselves. Singing happy birthday ages you, and recognizing you're another year old, and it really ages you. And we're manifestors, and we have to think timelessly, and because whatever we think, we're correct, and we manifest that. So it's really important to think good thoughts and be happy always, because you have a better life and you attract positive influences. So I try to live my life that way, and share that philosophy with people, and to have the correct attitude.
Okay.
Well, I've been telling people, if this is a world where you can do anything and be anything, just be kind. Be kind.
Yeah.
And everything else happens. Be kind. Be kind, folks. And we are sort of a spiritual science metaphysical group. I don't know what type of speakers are going to be at this alchemical alien event, but we have the Cosmic Commanders Gathering is under the alien event that I'm marketing and promoting as much as I can. But now Eric has Med Expo, which is also part of it. And we have the alien event here where you can see the posters, but we also have Bizton, BIZTON.com. Do you know the history behind that, Eric? Because that's our top of the line for.
Yes, that's it. It's where you can. It's the website you can go to where you get both, and you can buy tickets and do business. And it's just to put everything together in one place. But some of the doctors we work with didn't really want aliens involved with their biomedical. So it was easy for us to just make 2 posters and have the same venue, but just, I run back and forth, and it's really no problem. But that way the doctors are happy. We try to keep, it's hard to keep everybody happy, but we do the best we can. And I'm really glad. See, why I work with Said is really, he lets me, say what I want and do what I want. And he listens to me and lets me, make the suggestion that we keep doing this biomed, because it's important that people know what's going on. Because there was like I said, I was the guy who gave Jesse Venture the FEMA camp information, and what were these coffin liners for? And I realized what they were for when this pandemic started. And I mean, it was verified. I always secretly knew and even voiced it. And so
you have a voice. You're like, you went to these psychic events, and you're psychic. So you empathically, or something from your past lives, or just connecting to the Akashic field, some things, and then they manifest, or you can visualize them. Why don't you tell us how you do that for people? Because everybody has the gift. Not everybody uses it, right? And we're going to be teaching and using that.
Yes.
7th sense at this event. Go ahead, Eric. Share
I'm really glad you said that, because everybody, psychic ability is our 6th sense, and many people get voices, but they don't listen to their voice in their head. And when they don't, it always tells them later, see, you should have done that, and they regret it later. But, we have to, basically, we're too loud and noisy in our heads, and we don't pay attention to our higher selves, and we're all connected. People ask me, what to do to ascend, and what should we be doing? And I laugh and I say we were born, knowing everything, and then we're conditioned by society and our parents not to believe. And what we're seeing as children, ghosts, and the boogeyman under our bed. And because these things are real, and they're seeing something in other dimensions, as scary as that might be, and so we have to get back to where we once belonged. We have to get back to remembering, who we are, where we come from, and listen to that higher voice, because we're all psychic. And I have verification many times when you think, it happens to us all the time. You think of somebody and then they call just then, or you somehow you were buying something and somehow your voice tells you buy 2 or 3, and then later you realize why you had to buy those 2, because somebody else wanted one, and then you had to gift somebody one in an emergency or something. It's like that. You get verification when you listen to your voice all the time. I mean, as simple as usually I take one doggy bag, a poo bag for my dog. I know he's gonna poo once, but sometimes my voice says take 2 or 3, and I always smile because only that day somebody asked me if I have one, and I just, oh wow, I listen to my voice, and here's how do they know that they were gonna ask me? Nothing happens by chance or accident. See, and we're only experiencing time in these lower densities. It's all an eternal now, and we're everywhere at once, and we have omni-consciousness, universal. We're all one with God. There's a source that we come from, and when we tie into this, we can know everything. And these are the Akashic records. This is how you get messages from being open. And so I try to have people, we have to meditate, even though we don't get in the lotus position or do it officially on a yoga mat, or in a class, or you could do a walking meditation. You just have to have a quiet downtime to quiet the mind and remove the thoughts, or recognize the thoughts and then let them go, and just experience the flow, and try not to think about anything. And it's very difficult. And if I don't do that, I'm not as relaxed. And also ground. We have to remember to ground and take our shoes off. And I run a copper wire to my bed, and I sleep touching the copper wire it touches the ground underneath the earth.
Yeah, tell us about that. And I know Bret wants to talk to you. I'm sorry. He knows you a lot better than I do, but tell me about that. And then Bret, you take over. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm so excited to meet you, Eric.
Can someone go to the website, Eric, and buy one ticket for both events?
It's both events. Your ticket gets you into both.
Okay,
the tickets are good for everything. It's one ticket for everything. We're not selling. Yeah, it's one ticket for both events, so it's really 2 for 1. It's a twofer. You're getting 2 in 1, and hang out, stay at the hotel, because the best conferences are afterwards. We meet at the pool, there by the pool, and those are the best conferences. Much better than even whatever we're talking about, because we say what we can't say, and you meet everybody right there, one-on-one.
The conversations are worth the price of admission. Just
yeah. Okay, so, and if anybody has a problem with getting their money's worth, just come and talk to me for a little bit, and I'll make sure, because I have so many things to say to help them save thousands.
All right,
I know so many little tricks.
Speaking of that, I have a feeling you've heard of the med beds, and I've been doing a little research on the med beds. I only thought there was like 3 kinds. I saw an article that says there's over 100 kinds of med beds that do a variety of different things, from detox to healing to regeneration. Tell us a little bit about the med beds. Are we going to have any kind of med bed exhibit at the Biomed thing? How can people find out more about med beds? Tell us what you know.
Okay, well, med beds has, Trump just talked about it at the Republican National Committee. He said that they've been around for 53 years. And meeting Randy Kramer, Captain K, he talked about his arm being eaten by an insectoid, and then his regrowing his arm in 4 hours. And that's the technology that is capable of doing that.
Tell us who Captain K is after you drink your water.
Captain Randy Kramer. He's a pioneer in the movement. He's a super soldier, and he's a great friend. I've known him a long time. Right? Yeah, 20 and back.
Right. So he's on another. So put that into context. He's not just like in Malibu Beach and gets his arm eaten off by an
insectoid. Thank you. And not everybody knows who Captain K is.
Right.
Randy Kramer came out first. I don't remember anybody else before him talking about super soldier and having his arm eaten and fighting these insectoids, just like in Mars, I think.
Okay.
In Mars. So he had an exoskeleton suit, and he just died even before. It brings you back to life.
Okay, the med beds can do that. They can bring you back to life. Okay, so that sounds pretty, wild.
Star Trek, wild, yes.
Okay,
very wild.
I've been reading stories that they're already out in Japan. and
Yes.
and we have them at limited availability here in the United States. What's holding back them coming out fully in the United States?
Well, actually, they've been setting them up, and they've built. There are already many of them. They've been making them, and I think was it Musk? I'm not sure who, but somebody big that you know has been making them, and they're around, and they're ready to be used. We're all about to get an appointment to set us up. We've been slaves to the banks all our life, and we're about to get this money back with a quantum phone, and that's going to be our bank and everything. It's and after you get this appointment to set up your quantum financial system, set up your account, you're going to get a MedBed appointment, and it's going to be free. It's not going to cost anything, and it's going to. What it does is it takes the best slices of you, the best DNA, and it puts you together with all these best slices. So it makes a new. See, we're really not this body. We're souls. We're spirit, and we're in this matrix hologram, and we have these bodies that we're occupying, and actually, it's better to say we're souls that were made by other souls. Okay, there were other souls here, the Anunnaki, and they tinkered with our DNA and they made our bodies, but we're souls inhabiting those bodies. Okay, so how I know that is because you can't. What they did was they spliced Rhesus monkey genes and fused them into our second and third chromosomes, which doesn't occur naturally. And that's how we know, by looking at the DNA. And because how do monkeys have 48 chromosomes and we only have 46? Well, we have those 2 extra ones, but they're fused into our second and third chromosomes, which doesn't occur naturally. So that's how we know we were tinkered with. But these Anunnaki didn't make our DNA. God made our DNA, a source, and we've got that God source gene code in us. And this is what they use in this MedBed system to make a new us that's perfect. You can get reversed age 30 years, I hear, up to, and you can change your color, eyes, hair, whatever. You can also download what you want to know, I think. I've heard, you can say, I want these languages, and I want to be able to play piano and get bass, and so I think we're really in for a wild ride, besides having replicators for making foods. So anything you can imagine or have seen in a science fiction movie, we've been doing for 40, 50, 80 years. And it's soft disclosure. And so we're about to have a Star Trek future and have this. They're about to release 6,000 patents of free energy and cancer cures, and because there's no such thing as cancer. It's really parasites and acidification. Dr. Robert Young says it's symptomology of being acidic, so you have to get alkaline and oxygenate those, but cancer can't survive in an oxygen atmosphere. So it's all about your environment. It has nothing to do with your genes. And so we have to create a healthy environment and clean, change that water in the fish tank, So I'm always doing a liver cleanse on the new moon, and I'm doing parasite cleanses several days before the full moon. So I'm always detoxing, and I love taking. My friend Wayne is going to be a vendor at the event, so make sure you get your foot bath, your ionic foot bath, and do it a couple days in a row, because you're going to see worms. Yeah, you're going to see worms come out of you, and we all have parasites. We don't realize it. Yeah, but it's really.
Yeah, I did a foot bath once, TJ, and the muck and bubbles and the different multicolors that came up to the surface of the water were so gross. I almost didn't want to pull my feet back out through it. That's how gross it was. But I had to get my feet out. It was gross. I didn't have any worms. Yeah. Thank God, because I've seen some
advertisements before I agreed to speak.
Yeah, I've seen some recent advertisements where these worms are coming out of the people's bottom of their feet, and that just looks just gross.
No, I
Luckily,
promise
that
you
didn't
there were
happen to me.
several worms. I promise you. They just didn't show them to you, but I promise you, there's always. It's easy. They're in our feet, just in our feet. You know, that's just the extra. You know, that is already in the feet. You know, but
Well, I
there's
thought it
more
comes
in
out
our
of your feet
body.
because of gravity, Eric. Doesn't gravity
Right.
pull the stuff down, and so it would naturally just wants to exit your feet? That's my take anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
TJ.
Let's talk about
Wayne is a
something
great
else.
guy.
Okay,
All right, let's
TJ's
talk about
grossed out.
something.
Let's talk about something else.
Yes.
I'm
yes.
sure it's going to be a great show of the biomed part. But let's get to my part on the alien event, Cosmic Fleet Gathering event, and all the people that talk about the cosmos and, you know, how we're all, maybe they want to talk about how we came here, like you just mentioned, Anunnaki, Eric. But Brett, where do you want to take this show? Because let me see how we've got only a half hour, about 24 minutes left.
25, 30 minutes left. Yep. So we got not a lot of time, lots of stuff to talk about. Okay, Eric. So one of the themes that we have on the TJ3B Triangle is that we have a variety of contactees on the show. And of course, as you know, there's a variety of kinds of contact. I know from being your friend for several years now, we've gotten to those poolside conversations like you described earlier, and you've told us some pretty cool stuff. Pick out one of your good stories of contact, of seeing a UFO, close proximity to a ship, and tell us about that briefly so we can move on to something else.
Oh, okay. Well, the first time I really had some extraordinary thing happen was my parents, we were living in Iran, and we were watching, it was 1969, and we were watching the moon landing on TV. And I turned to my parents and I said that it was a lie, what they were showing. And my parents looked at me like, what? And I said, this isn't real. I said, this is not how it is. This is fake. You know, they're not showing the aliens. And they were saying, how do you know, Eric? And I said, well, I went there. I was there. And they said, you can fly? You were there? I said, yeah, I flew there and I saw. They said, well, show us how you fly. And I couldn't show them, and they laughed. And see, that's the start of the programming. But I told them, I said, listen, I saw the landing. I said, I saw the real landing, and I saw the aliens standing around by their spaceships all around the edge of the cliff. They were like in this crater, and all about the top of the crater, surrounding them with these reptilians standing by their ships. And they weren't respecting them, and they weren't invited back after that landing. That's why we never went back to the moon. But it really happened. I mean, they did. I met Stanley Kubrick, and he told me that he produced the moon landing, and I laughed. And I said I already knew that because I went on a field trip when I was in the gifted program to Downey, like where the first McDonald's was, in this like Boeing hangar, and saw the set. And I said, why didn't they throw dirt on the things? Well, it was so clean and it wasn't messy, you know, and it was really. And you know, we're all advanced viewers now, watching all these movies and with all these special effects. If we saw the moon landing, we'd see how fake it was and how it's, you know, aluminum foil and, you know, it's cardboard and, you know, we've got
two versions. What you're saying, right?
That's why they say NASA says they lost everything. They lost all the video of their landings and stuff. So
how did you get there, Eric?
I remote viewed. I astral projected. I thought I flew there, but I mean, I didn't fly there. I just remote viewed it, astral projected, and I realized it later. I didn't know how, but I knew what I knew.
Nighttime dream, or is it something that like Shirley MacLaine went out of body?
Yeah,
in that one movie.
At night when I slept. And I did that. Yeah, I met Shirley in the 80s. She was wonderful. We talked about Oscar Achazo and the Enneagram and her sightings. And, you know, I've been trying, you know, they voted me the guy to greet the aliens when they landed in high school, you know, because everybody knew I was always talking about UFOs and trying to get people to believe in them. And you know, they always laughed at me and they didn't exist. But there's reptilians and I've worked with them even. I was working for Food, Drug, and Radiation Safety, and my big boss came to my desk, and somehow I learned his age or something, and I told him that he's a dragon. He was born a year of the dragon. And when I said that, all of a sudden he shapeshifted, and I saw his eyes go to slits, and I saw scales on his face. And I was like, holy shit, you're a real dragon. And then he smiled and gave me his address and phone number and invited me over, after, whatever, one day.
Because you were going to visit her.
Well, I told one of my friends that worked there, one of the health physicists, and without skipping a beat, he looked at me and he said, I've seen him in full form with wings and everything. So when he said that, I knew he was Draco, because the Draco are the royalty and they have the wings, the tall ones, and he's tall.
Heard that, yeah.
So,
okay.
So that was another situation. And
all right, that's good. TJ.
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Eric, follow up. I know you got a question.
Eric, is there other beings that you've worked with? Because the Anunnaki are probably the ones that, when I do history on the world religions, the An, which Anunnaki, those from the heavens came, or those from the sky. So the An are supposedly the oldest, but not really, because the Lyran wars fall after the Anunnaki. But on a scale in your remote viewing, which part of you, let's say your higher self, when you remote view, do you go out and find other extraterrestrial types other than reptilians? Do you know of the Pleiadians or the Archons?
I think I do. I've been told, I've been recognized and told, these things, and I'm starting to remember some things, and, without making, too much, saying too many crazy things, it sounds crazy when I even say it myself, but I really feel that, yes, it's true. I do, and good ones, and all over, and there are many good ones. I believe that if every ship uncloaked, you wouldn't be able to see the sky. It was like it's filled with motherships, and there's something. What happens here affects the rest of the universe, and they've been waiting for us to join. This is the year of disclosure, and we're going to meet our star family, and there's no doubt about it. I don't know the names of where they come from, or who I work with, or what, but they've come to me. They've come to me.
System, if you know what I mean. They don't honor our running around
right.
the sun as a year. But remember, in the Bible, which most people on this planet really use, even Christians, Muslims, Jews, Quran, whatever. But we've got all these old ancient scriptures, mostly from the Aramaic, and then before that Akkadian, that. And
right.
We're all trying to say that we're all knowing that we understand there's that level, whether one wants to practice rituals or spiritual or certain world religions, but we're trying to treat everybody, regardless of the melanin in their skin or the color or what part of the world they came from. Although it seems to be, people are starting to realize they're more than just human now in this disclosure movement and this new humanity. So I'm part of the disclosure mission for new humanity to get us to the next level, from the 5th level all the way up to the 7th, and to accept our 7 heavens, which is in the Quran as well as the Bible. But, we have celestial, terrestrial, and telestial that at least the Mormons believe in. And I know some of our UFO people started trying to go in that. Roger Moore, if you remember him, a long time ago, the first books. But, if I have to speak, I guess I'm going to have to go on the UFO timeline that honors a lot of our older book writers. And then I grew up with Stanton T. Friedman, J. Allen Hynek, and I'm going to speak on the Roswell just because historically I have a different timeline that goes with that story, but due to Reagan. So I'm going to try to be as honest as I can about that. But I will be talking about other species that are humanoid and Nordics, and how they helped us, and how we live, and actually how we do some of the things we do. So never done that before. So they're going to have to come in person if they're a commander, and sort of join the cosmic gathering of the commander so we can join in the Allied Command. Well, Bret, I know there's a lot of people that don't do remote viewing, nor have they had out-of-body or near-death experiences, but we welcome all of you light workers and truth seekers, and of course all you mystics, oracle, psychics, and sages. I don't care if we seem strange or not. You know, it's the best life I've had, and my Ascension Center had the esoteric guide we wrote, but actually Bret Lueder is coined with esoteric guide. So Eric, I'd like us to help Bret figure out how many of these alien stories are you going to put in, Bret, with your Ascension? Are you going to put in about the Anunnaki and the Lyran Wars and all of those that we had on Earth thus far?
And are you talking about in my upcoming book?
Uh-huh.
No, in my upcoming book, I'm not necessarily delving into that kind of stuff. That's like content. I do a little bit because the Dulce-based chapter covers a lot of that stuff. Dulce-based seems to be a portal, a jumping point to.
Well, those are the grays. There's three or four types of grays, but the Dulce-based, when I was there, they had the smaller grays. But you had some tall ones that was with Eric's friend. He met him. That cut his fingers off.
Okay, so
oh yeah, Phil Schneider.
Okay, so each of the chapters in my book are really just focused on the basic story of whatever chapter it is. I do one on Antarctica, Dulce-based Mount Shasta, you know, and I go to old stories like Shambhala and Agartha, and then I get into the Richard Sharp Shaver stuff, which is what I'm going to be speaking about at the Alien event coming up in October. What I really try to do is just to tell enough of the stories to show that there's commonalities between all the stories, and then I make the case at the end of the book that it's because it's not a coincidence that all these stories have commonalities. It's because it's a PR campaign, and this information has been slowly released to us for hundreds of years, really thousands. If you want to talk about like the legend of Shambhala, goes back at least 1,000 years, and some say tens of thousands of years, depending on what text, ancient text, or who you want to talk to. So like if you get into the Dulce book by Branton, he is chronicling a bunch of stuff like you're talking about, TJ, where there's this Orion Draco alliance, and it's standing against it are the Andromedans and the Pleiadians, and then that intrigue in space comes down to Earth, and different factions on Earth are backing different people, and some of the dark forces will penetrate into the ground and do underground bases. There's all kinds of that stuff that's out there, but the book would be way too long if I really was going to focus on that. So
who does the ant?
What's that?
Who does the ant people? I haven't seen anybody do a good legend of the ants.
I talk about the ant people in my Hopi section, so you'll get a taste of that. I do, yeah, because they're coming from the underground. That's who supposedly saved them underground during a cataclysm, and then taught them how to live, taught them how to grow corn and beans before they let them back up onto the surface. But anyway, so I'm trying to segue back to the alien event because I want to ask Eric a question. Because
may I make some statements just on what you guys have said already?
Okay.
I like what she brought up about the Bibles, because when we confiscated the gold under the tunnels, there were 650 planes needed that the nose opens up to bring all the gold back from the Vatican. And they also found Bibles that were confiscated from the Alexandrian library when it burned. It really didn't burn all the books. They stole it in the Vatican library. So we have ancient Bibles in the Bible that are being translated right now. So we're about to have a new renaissance of religion and thought, because there's 30,000 different Christian Bibles. Which one are you talking about? I studied comparative religion at UCLA, and really what happened was that it was the Council of Nicaea when they got them all together and made one Bible. And so we're really taken off the we don't really know what's going on. So we're about to get major disclosure about, because there were hundreds of books that were taken out of the Bible that we don't get, like the Book of Enoch and other things that talk about our reality. And then you mentioned Shambhala and Dalai Lama. When I met Dalai Lama, my neighbor brought him to speak in Santa Monica Auditorium, and he gave me a front row ticket. But I couldn't go because I was working the express lane. Nobody wanted to work the express lane. So just before he's about to speak, he came into the store where I was working, and he goes and gets water. And he comes in, and he was Man of the Year on all the people in Time magazines, even though he was on the Man of the Year. This was LA, so people thought there were a bunch of Hare Krishnas, religious fanatics. But I knew immediately he was the Dalai Lama because I'm half Persian, and we have the best saffron, and those are saffron-colored robes, and not.
Yeah, saffron. Ooh.
He came to my check stand. He goes, Eric, and I was so shocked. Like, my name tag wasn't being shown. How do you know it was me? He goes, Eric, I heard you couldn't come to hear me speak. I came to see if you had any questions of me. And I was so shocked. And I said, and the first question I asked was, is there a Shambhala? Is there an inner earth? And he said, yes. There's. How did you know? And I told him I read his friend Tuesday Lobsang's book, and that he talked about it in there. And so, and then the ant people, every time I meet Vietnam veterans, I ask them if they escaped with help from the ant people, just to throw it out there. And I've had a handful of people just flip and their eyes get big and say, wow, how did you know? I've never told anybody about this, okay? Because I've talked to some who told me about it. And so they haven't even told the ant people helped them escape in Vietnam through the tunnels. And so we have all kinds of creatures in many different levels. And there's some bad mischievous things going on too that are being cleaned out right now, and they're flooding the tunnels too. That's why we saw a lot of water levels. Watch the water; it goes down, and they flood the tunnels, and they were flooding the tunnels and getting rid of the rats in the sewers in Washington D.C. So and then Dulce was the portal. You said that was great. It's true. That my friend, I met Phil Schneider. He said he talked about Dulce and what happened and what they opened up into a big reptilian base that they hadn't told them about, and so that it's true. I really like what you both have shared, and I just had to say those things. Thank you for letting me.
Okay, back to my question real quick. So Eric,
yes.
You talked about seeing people's eyes change from circles to slits.
Right.
Okay.
You know how we have a circle?
Hold on. So I've seen this happen at UFO events before.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't know, I didn't know what to do, right? You just look and like, oh my God, am I really seeing what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
So if people come to this alien event, do you think aliens are going to come to the alien event?
Every single time, no doubt about it. It's just, are we open? Are we open to it?
I said I'm human. I don't do just human.
Women are better at it. Women are different. They have different powers, and my women friends that are remote viewers, they see things, different. That's why I like all my friends, is because we all have different gifts and we share.
Yeah. I've been a man in a past life on many occasions, but this time around I brought in my faith energy and the Atlantis Oracle, and I put it in video form. And Scott Huckabee, which both of you guys know, was on my records, my CD. Scott Huckabee. Bret, you know him, don't you?
I know Scott Huckabee, yeah.
I don't know if there's going to be music there or not, but music is a big enhancement for learning meditation, but also learning how to go up in the levels of the higher chakras. So back to you, Bret.
So interesting you mentioned Scott Huckabee. So this is a good transition back to the Biomed event. I met Scott Huckabee in 2006 on the Big Island of Hawaii. I was with my at the time teacher Sonia Kalkar, and we went to the Steam Vent Inn where Dr. Leonard Horowitz and his family stayed.
Wow.
And we got to hang out with Dr. Horowitz, and I think Fred Allen Wolf showed up, and Scott Huckabee was there. And so Scott Huckabee took Leonard Horowitz's 53 Martin acoustic guitar and was trying to figure out how to tune the 9-note solfeggio scale to the 6-string guitar. and so he was just experimenting around with different tunings, and we were just in total amazement. So for those that don't know Scott Huckabee, definitely get one of his CDs because they're recorded in 528. But he was in, I think it was in a car accident, and then he was in a coma, and in the hospital he woke up, and if I remember correctly, someone had placed a guitar at the foot of his bed, and he just knew how to play it. So it's just like something happened in the coma, and he just woke up, and man, I've never seen anything like it. He was incredible.
Did you call it the Quagmire?
To Quagmire? Quagmire from the Family Guy? You mean Dr. Leonard Horowitz? Yeah, there's an echo. An echo developed here in the last like 10 minutes or so. Not sure what's going on with that. But.
It's so funny you met them together. I met Dr. Leonard Horowitz and Scott together also. And when I first started working, in the beginning, I worked for Dr. Leonard Horowitz, and Scott came as the music at the conference, and I was the MC and the introducing and him, and I really loved Len, and he told me he loved me because I was a food and drug and I was a whistleblower, and so he's a really awesome guy, and then Scott had some problem with his feet, so I did some healing for him and massaged his feet. But he was really amazing with the beads on his feet, the bells on his feet, and then using percussion on the guitar, and it was a really nice style. And then he's got a rain stick. It's like his guitar is also a rain stick. It's got little beads in there, and it's like he really takes it to the next level and makes the music. I like his style, and I like he had a little round Persian rug, and he just dancing on there, and so a really wonderful person. And then they introduced me to this solfeggio scale, where it corresponds to. See, I was doing tuning forks on the chakras, but I had the C scale, which is FEDC, FEDBEC, or BAGFEDC. So he said, no, it's use the solfeggio scale. So then we went to the A scale, and switched it, and there's two for the heart. There's 528 and there's 512, but 512 is more with the 432, and so. But I like what they do.
432 years ago, right? He was using 432 years ago, right?
Right. Well, see, it was, and then they shifted it to 440, and it was the Nazi kind of move where everything is sound and frequency, and it's the same reason why they took all the bells out of the churches. Because they were healing the bells, and it was about frequency. Those bells were like the singing bowls, and you get in Tibet and Nepal, in China, they have these brass bowls that you strike, and it creates a frequency, and you set them by the chakras, and it really heals. So you feel it, you feel that vibration. Yes, and it's funny when my dog barks. He barks in G. And it makes my crystal bowl ring, when he barks. So,
wow.
It's all about resonance.
I know we didn't discover half of who you are, even at 10. Oh, it must be coming from Eric's, I think.
I'm sorry?
You're the only one echoing, PJ. Well, me a little bit.
Okay.
Eric's fine.
Okay.
Based on mine.
Okay, I checked everything.
It's okay, we're about to wrap it up anyway.
Yeah, it's a nice. We have to talk again about all the other things we didn't get to talk about, but it's going to be a really fun event, and seeing you guys there, and we go to these events to meet other people like us, our star family that we resonate with, and I really resonate with you guys, and it's no mistake. We all made a promise to be here millions of years ago. And we're all here back together to clean this up, and it's going down right now.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I guess we'll have him back, Brett. Can we have Eric back maybe?
At some point, let's have him back. Sure. We just scratched the
Eric,
surface.
we'll have you back.
It's, you know, if I could say a few things to really I'm telling you, there's a movement going on, and this Q business is real. I really met Q, and he's an alien with a heart-shaped skull, but he goes by the name of Jay, and he looks Filipino, but there's a sting operation, and the deep state's going down. These fascist, Satanists that are child trafficking and doing a lot of evil things, it's coming to us. And so we should be ready with these rolling blackouts and have extra food and water and batteries. And we're going to have the largest, grand, massive awakening ever in the history of man through our phone, through the emergency broadcasting system. And all these crazy things we've been talking about for the last decade are going to, we've been helping people get prepared for this. And because it's a large horse pill to swallow. And it's really crazy stuff, but you guys will have no problem because you knew this stuff already. So
well, we're helping.
So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being our guest. And I think I speak for TJ when I say I hope you're right, and I hope this awakening happens. I hope it happens sooner than later, because I know it's created a lot of suffering on a lot of levels all around the world. And it needs to stop. We should all be abundant and happy and healthy and pursuing our dreams unencumbered. So
well, coming together and meeting each other in person in this reality, it must mean something, because everybody's paying their way to get to Vegas one way or the other. So, folks, I hope you'll join us. And Eric, I hope you'll use this and put it out wherever you can. Brett, put it out on your Facebook.
Do you have the poster? Can you flash the poster, Theresa?
It's right there behind us.
I know, but people can't see that unless they zoom in.
Oh, I don't have a physical reality.
You did with Brooks. I thought maybe you'd have it handy again. That's okay.
I did.
What's the? If you go to just go to alienevent.com or biomedexpo.com, you get the full posters, and it's no problem. And we'll see you there, hopefully.
Those are original. They're not originals. They're duplicate canvases of the alien event and the alien event in Las Vegas, and then the poster. But those change. Those posters change all the time, and
they're going to be up.
Yeah.
Brett's going to go on that one. But we'll get the one with you on there, Brett. He said he still doesn't finalize the speakers till maybe a few weeks or a couple of weeks.
Oh, no, well, yeah, I'll call him back, and yeah, I'll talk to the poster guy, and I'll talk to Said and see, about that, because it shouldn't be difficult to get. I like to have Brett on there because I like to keep these.
And we need to somehow separate the Zoom in, so we're not false advertising the Zoom in people, because we're going to have quite a few of those, including the Anunnaki scholars, Dr. Philip Alexander Lesson, that goes by Sasha Lesson for many of you, with his wife Janet Carroll Lesson, and they're both Anunnaki scholars, Sitchin scholars, I guess certificate-wise for all the years, but they're really well known for that. And of course, I'll be talking about some of the Anunnaki war stuff, because I'm going to talk about the history of the wars. But I'm doing reverse alien technology, how it's going to help us in the future, plus the Roswell event and the other timeline. So it'll be fun. Brett, what are you talking about?
The echo's getting worse.
I don't know why it came on. Tell us real quick, Brett, what you're going to talk about.
My lecture is titled UFO PR, Have You Been Hoodwinked by Word Magicians? And I'm going to talk about magic and mind control and PR, and set up one of the chapters in my book. I'm going to be talking about Richard Sharp Shaver and the Shaver mystery, and how that's seen as fiction. Some people call it a hoax, that they made the whole thing up. Richard Sharp Shaver and Ray Palmer of Amazing Stories Tell Their Deathbeds maintained it was a true story. And that's going to be an example of how public relations and narratives, which is a PR tool, have influenced the UFO community. So I think we just lost TJ, Eric. So I'm just going to say thank you. From
thank you, Bret. Wonderful.
And, it was a pleasure to have you. Well, she's kind of coming back. Maybe let's see. She beamed back from her ship. She just did 20 and back. Now she's back.
Yeah. Well,
right.
Okay. Well, we're signing off, DJ.
I want to tell you something real quick, Eric. We can't put 14 minutes. So help me solve that issue in quantum mechanics, quantum physics. We can't put 14 minutes back, and that's what's on the watch of some patrolman at one time out west. So a lot to talk about, folks. Come join us.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Love and light, all you light workers and truth seekers. Come see us. Bye, Eric. Hope to do it again.
Bye.
Thank you both. I'm trying to end this game. Maybe I have to touch it. Touch it.